And yet President Putin's ratings remain very high amongst the Russian people. They're not afraid to die. No, the war is coming. It's going to be a nuclear war. It's going to be a war with the use of weapons of mass destruction. Yes, for the first time in human history. This is the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad. Allah's blessings be upon him. And if the Russian people are not afraid to die, why should you be afraid to die? If a Christian is not afraid to die, why should a Muslim be afraid to die? No, we are not afraid to die. It is when this big war takes place that perhaps the balloon will burst. We are not going to analyze the nuclear war at this time. We're only referring to it in the context of our lecture on money. Beyond the petrodollar, therefore, is a new kind of money which will not be money based on oil. What kind of money will it be? In Pax Britannica, it was the British pound. In Pax Americana, it was the US dollar. So what kind of money will there be in this so-called Pax Judaica? Answer, electronic money, digital money. And I learned a new term now, it's called virtual money. Very cute terms, they coin. I used to think that fiat was just an Italian motor car until I heard it. There's something called fiat money. I don't know where they get these terms from, where they pick it out, like Arab Spring. So it's now going to be virtual money. Money that is invisible. You can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't touch it. No. Electronic money. And we will no longer have a multiplicity of currencies in the world. No, the idea is to get all of mankind under one government, one world government, so that one people can rule the world, and they can then transfer that power to the state of Israel, so that Israel become the ruling state in the world in succession to the United States. This is our eschatological explanation of the historical process. And then at the end of the day, someone will stand up in Israel and declare, I am the Messiah. I have been explaining this for 14, 15 years, 16 years now in my book, Jerusalem in the Quran. Those who have read the book, of course, they know all of this eschatology. But there are those who don't want to read or who are afraid to read. But I have a question. I can't understand how in a post-nuclear world, when thousands of nuclear weapons have exploded, when there have been days without any sunlight, when most of mankind have perished, and there's a rump of mankind still surviving, how will Israel, how will the banking system survive? And how will you be able to use electronic money? And then someone came from Saudi Arabia and met with me and explained to me, he says, what will perish would be wireless communication, electronic money that is conveyed through the wireless system. But when it's conveyed through cables, underground cables, that will still survive. So the internet will not collapse, no. Only that part of the internet will survive, which is protected, which is conveyed through cables and fiber optics and so on. And I understood now I understand, how is it possible in a post-nuclear world for an electronic monetary system to replace the petrodollar. That will be, of course, a financial Guantanamo, a monetary Guantanamo. Because you can't take your money out of the banking system. No. All you can do is transfer from one account to another. So your money is hostage in their banking system. And the minute you step out of line and they perceive you as a threat to them, they can freeze your account. That's all. And you have no money. At that time, don't blame me. So our response should be, at this time, is to, first of all, recognize that all of this is not happening by accident, that there is an explanation of this movement away from real money to bogus money, and then finally, that at the end of the day, after the electronic monetary system has given them that consolidation of power that they need, that Israel will then proclaim itself to be Holy Israel, or what I call the Khilafah state, the Khilafah state. Every Muslim knows what is a Khilafah state. Israel, the Jews want to establish a Khilafah state. That's what they want to do. Because what Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, the Prophet David, did was to establish a Khilafah state. That's what Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam did, the Prophet Solomon, a Khilafah state. And they want to establish a Khilafah state. And that Khilafah state, of course, cannot use bogus money. It'll have to use dinar and dirham. So at the end of the day, even the virtual money and electronic money and digital money will all go, and dinar and dirham will retain as money. I hope I am alive for that day, because the shame and the embarrassment will be too great for me. And we Muslims, we have the Quran, we have Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and we surrendered dinar and dirham, and they, our enemies, they brought back dinar and dirham. I don't want to be living to see that day. When when Israel assumes Pax Judaica and the electronic monetary system replaces the petrodollar monetary system, I envisage that the rope around our necks will become tighter and tighter, and that the descent into slavery will be accelerated. Indonesia is so miserably poor. Millions of Indonesian women who are our daughters have to work as slaves in Singapore and elsewhere with the salary of a slave. I have spoken on this again and again. If you're a Singaporean, don't be angry with me, because in your grave you'll have to answer. You'll have to answer. If you have an employee and you pay that employee the salary of a slave, you will have to answer for it in the grave, yes. If no Singaporean woman will work for that wage that the Indonesian slave works for, that's oppression. And Allah does not have any tolerance for oppression, so the oppressor will pay for it in the grave. Is there slavery in Akhirul Zaman? Is that what the world is coming to? When electronic money replaces the petrodollar? Yes. When the angel Gabriel, Jibreel alayhi salam, came and met with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, you remember in the masjid? He came in the form of a human being and he asked 5 questions. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam answered the 5 questions, then he left. And then the Prophet turned and asked his companion, do you know who he was? They said, Allah and His Messenger know best, we don't know. And then he said, that was Jibreel alayhi salam, the angel Gabriel, who came to teach you your religion. The last of the 5 questions was about the signs of the last day. And the Prophet ﷺ gave 2 signs. One of them was slavery. He said that a slave woman will give birth to her mistress. We do not have the time today to expand and explain what we've done in previous lectures, an interpretation of this prophecy that a slave woman will give birth to her mistress. But this hadith indicates to us that there is slavery at the end of history. And I anticipate that the electronic monetary system will take us to that slavery. The electronic monetary system is targeting all of mankind, as the petrodollar system did. But now I want to explain to you that amongst all of mankind is one special group who are specially targeted. Who are they? Answer: the Arabs. This is because they are the greatest immediate threat to Israel, the Arabs. And the Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, prophesied the destruction of the Arabs. He was asleep. This is a hadith of Sahih Bukhari. He was asleep at the home of his wife Zainab radiallahu ta'ala anha. And he saw something in his dream. It was a vision. It was terrible. And he woke up with his face flushed red. And he woke up with the words, "Wailul lil Arab min sharrin qad iqtaraba." Woe unto the Arabs because of a great evil which is now approaching. What evil did he see? He then raised his hands like this and he said, "Today a hole has been made." Today, have you heard the word? Today, today, today. Today a hole has been made in the Radam. Radam? Radam is the barrier built in the form of a dam, built by Zulkarnain to contain Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog, of course, are in the Quran. And if you do not know who are Gog and Magog, you are neglecting the Quran. What Zulkarnain did in the language of a game called chess is to checkmate Gog and Magog, who are vicious people who perpetrate facade, corrupting and destroying everything. So by building this barrier in the form of a dam, they are contained, they cannot come out. So long as they are there behind that barrier, that dam, the world is safe. When will they come out? The Quran says, فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي جَعَلَهُ دَكَّاءَ. Allah will bring down that barrier one day, and Gog and Magog are going to be released into the world. When will Allah bring it down? When will Allah bring down the barrier and release Gog and Magog? Who will answer that question? Is it the Hadith or is it the Quran? Who have priority? Who has absolute authority? Where is absolute truth located? Is it in the Hadith or is it in the Quran? Answer: you must always go to the Quran first, not to the Hadith. And it's only when a Hadith is in harmony with the Quran that you accept the Hadith. But if a Hadith is in conflict with the Quran, you put it aside. If a Hadith is neither in harmony nor in conflict with the Quran, you will accept it, but you give it a lower status. Yes. So when will Allah bring down the barrier? The answer, of course, is in the Quran. But Allah will bring them down, and after they are brought down into released from that barrier, they will spread out in all directions and take control of the world with their power. And when that happens, then you will see that the people who belong to a town, the town was destroyed by Allah. This is the Quran. and they were expelled from the town, that you see those people being brought back to that town. Gog and Magog will bring them back. This is the Quran in Surah Al-Anbiya. We're not going to Hadith, we're going to Quran. And which town is it? The town is Jerusalem. If it's not, then tell me who it is. So the Prophet ﷺ now has a vision. And in that vision, he sees that Gog and Magog are released. The release has commenced. It'll take a long time before they spread out and take control of the world. It'll take a long time before the Jews are brought back to the Holy Land, brought back to take control of Jerusalem, brought back to restore a state of Israel in the Holy Land, brought back so that Israel could now try to become the ruling state in the world. It'll take a long, long time. But when were they released? When? He says, it was in his lifetime that the release took place, that the barrier was brought down. In his lifetime. Today, he said, Allah has made a hole in the barrier. Gog and Magog will now be released. And this is bad news for the Arabs in particular. So the monetary system is only part of the overall attack on the Arabs. But this part of the attack on the Arabs is meant to enslave them. So when he said, وَيْلٌ لِلْعَرَبِ مِنْ شَرٍّ قَدْ اقْتَرَبَ, woe unto the Arabs because of a great evil which is now approaching them. She asked, this is Zainab radiallahu ta'ala, أَنُهْلَكُ وَفِينَا الصَّالِحُونَ, will we be destroyed, we Arabs, would we be destroyed even though there are righteous people amongst us? Even though there are righteous people amongst us? He said, Naam. Naam. The Arabs are going to be destroyed, even though there are righteous people amongst them. When will they be destroyed? He said, إِذَا كَثُرَ الْخَبَثِ, when rubbish prevails, then the Arabs will be destroyed. We are now in the age of the rubbish. The most dangerous part of the rubbish or the garbage is the monetary system. That monetary system is enslaving the Arabs, putting some Arabs onto the gravy train, the petroleum one, and the rest of the Arabs increasingly being destroyed. And so we now ask ourselves, if we are to respond to this immensely dangerous challenge in the world of money, what do we do? This lecture points out that one possible response is to make our money redeemable in gold. When Indonesia became independent, President Ahmad Sukarno called in the ulama and asked them about the status of paper money. And they explained to him that the paper money would be halal provided that it is redeemable in gold. That's what they said to him. I don't know whether the ulama in Indonesia remember that today. But that's what the ulama told Sukarno, that if the paper money is redeemable in gold, it's halal. And Sukarno actually fixed that so much paper money will be equal to so much in gold, and you can take your paper money and you can get the gold. That's why they had to kill him. He had to be removed. If you attempt to do that now, to have your paper money redeemable in gold, first of all, you have to have enough gold. And they have done everything they could possibly do to control all the gold reserves of the world. But Allah can always bring more gold into the world. Yes. One of the prophecies of Akhirul Zaman is that the earth will vomit from its liver columns of gold and silver. So new gold coming into the world. So they can't control all the world, all the gold in the world. If one country in the world is able to make its currency redeemable in gold, their whole system collapses. Everything will collapse. At this time, perhaps the only people who could do that, who have the power to do it, would be Russia and China. May Allah take these words of mine to the Russian government, to the Chinese government, that you take your BRICS, your alternative monetary system, and seek to find a way in which you can make your money redeemable in gold. The second response that we have to share with you is that which we have said again and again and again and again, that in the Sunnah you can monetize commodities of food consumption, like rice, and use rice as money. And in this way, you will extricate yourself from that electronic monetary system which is meant to enslave you. But now we turn to a third response, and that is that nothing can be done in the world of Islam. Nothing can succeed in the world of Islam unless and until we get the scholars of Islam to support it. So the time has come for me to ask you. I'm an old man now, I'm 74 years of age, I'll soon be 75. I don't know how much time there is left before Allah calls me away. But wherever you are in the world, and these words of mine were to reach you, and you're a Muslim, even if you're not a Muslim, go to the scholars of Islam, wherever they are, and you can meet them, and ask them, this money that we're now using, we don't see this money in the Quran, we don't see it in the Sunnah. It's new, it's never been used before. Is this money halal or is it haram? Ask him. If Imran Hosein is wrong, please tell us what is right. Go to every scholar of Islam you can meet and put this question to them and tell them, when you give me your answer, I want you to know that I want to use your answer publicly. I'm not speaking to you privately. I don't want any answer given to me in privacy. No, we want an answer that can be publicly revealed to the public. So this is a call I'm making today to you. I'm just one solitary voice, but Allah can take this voice many places. Go to the scholars of Islam and demand from them a response. Before I end, let me say that having studied Islamic eschatology, I have come to the conclusion that it is only a Khilafah state that has the power ready to be able to defy this bogus monetary system and restore dinar and dirham as money today. Only a Khilafah state. And what is a Khilafah state? I have a lecture coming soon, inshallah, entitled Iqbal, Pakistan and the Khilafah state, in which I hope to be able to explain what is a Khilafah state. But to be brief, a Khilafah state is a state in which God's law is supreme. And that's what Israel wants to do. That's what the Jews want to do. They want to establish a state in the Holy Land in which the law of the Torah is the highest law. What Nabi Muhammad ﷺ established in Medina was also a Khilafah state. The law in that state, Allah's law in the Quran is the highest law. Allah's law in the Torah, Allah's law in the Quran is the same law. Except that sometimes there's something called naskh, or cancellation and abrogation. And for that I'd like you, can I give me a copy please of methodology? I would like you to take a look at my book on methodology for the study of the Quran. so that you'll be able to use that book to understand the subject of cancellation and abrogation, where one law in the Torah is cancelled and replaced by another law in the Quran. Methodology for the study of the Quran. A Khilafah state is not only a state in which Allah's law is the supreme law, but also it has to be a state, of course, where there is no authority and no law higher than Allah's law. So a Khilafah state cannot be a member state of the United Nations. A Khilafah state cannot be a member state of the International Monetary Fund. No. A Khilafah state has to be a state in which the supreme authority is Allah's. And that's what they want to do with the state of Israel. That's what they want to do. We hope and we pray that the lecture which is to come on Iqbal, Pakistan and the Khilafah state would explain the subject. And inshallah that a movement can be launched to try to restore the Khilafah state, in which we'll be able to effectively deal with the bogus monetary system. So long as Gog and Magog took control of the world, it's not possible to restore a Khilafah state, and therefore to break the back of this bogus monetary system. You can't do it. However, the war which is coming, the nuclear war, is going to break the back of Gog and Magog. Yes. How do I know that? Because the next event to take place after the war, the great nuclear war, is the conquest of Constantinople. And if Constantinople is to be conquered, the implication is Gog and Magog no longer have the power to resist. No. As a consequence, I've come to the conclusion that it is possible for us, as never before in the last few hundred years, it is possible for the last 100 years, it is possible for us to now restore the Khilafah state. An effort can be made to restore the Khilafah state in the wake of the nuclear war which is coming. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may take these words of mine to those of you around the world who agree with me that this is a bogus monetary system and we ought to respond to it authentically. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.